Thank you, Chairman Smith, for holding this hearing today. I want to thank the witnesses for your valuable testimony here today and your passion. Welcome back, Congressman Deutsch. Good to have you here. Since the atrocious terrorist attacks committed by Hamas on October 7th, we've seen widespread anti-Semitic activity on our college campuses, as has been alluded to today. One estimate reporting a 321% increase from 2022. What's worse, we have seen a complete lack of leadership by university leaders and campus administrators at many institutions, leaving Jewish students, faculty, alumni, and community members without any actual protection or support. As we continue to see this anti-Semitism rage on college campuses, I think it's important to consider the U.S. Department of Education's role here as well. As many of you know, Title VI of the Higher Education Act prohibits discrimination based on national origin and shared ancestry. Among other things, and it's supposed to be enforced by the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights, also known as OCR. Unfortunately, OCR too frequently settles these cases with schools through resolution agreements instead of making a final determination about whether Title VI violation actually occurred. As a result, it appears that many schools avoid scrutiny and accountability for their actions by implementing short-term remedial corrective actions as directed by the Department of Education. Mr. Marcus, appreciate your public service. As we look at this ability of the Department of Education and their Office of Civil Rights to enforce Title VI violations, I'm just curious, as we look at the last 8 months and what's gone on in these college campuses, I'm curious what you think, your opinion on whether the Biden administration has done a good job in enforcing Title VI and handling these complaints of anti-Semitism that we've seen across the country.
Thank you, Congressman LaHood. I think that this administration has done some things well with respect to anti-Semitism, especially in outreach, public messaging, and transparency, but the investigations have been extremely slow. The policy formulations have been weak. There have been too few in the way of resolutions, and there have been dismissals that I think are hard to defend. So I would say it has been a mixed bag, and I would also say that you make a good point about the problem that some cases that should lead to a final disposition and perhaps punishments are resolved perhaps prematurely, but in ways that the statute may require, because by statute, OCR must seek a voluntary resolution, and in some cases, that does weaken their response.
Can you give us any examples in the last 8 months where there's been a determination that's been done that will send a deterrent message to this type of behavior by universities?
No, sir. Not in the last 8 months with respect to a university. With respect to the Davidson School, which is K-12 in the last month, perhaps. With respect to the last maybe 16 months, the University of Vermont. So there have been a couple of cases that have sent useful signals, but not enough, not recently enough, and especially not recently with respect to higher education.
Well, I would agree with that. Can you tell me if a proper civil judgment was put in place against a university or a college through the Title VI process, tell me what that would do in terms of sending a message from a financial standpoint and a deterrent message of the consequences for the lack of enforcement.
So monetary judgments can sometimes be available under Title VI with a private lawsuit, but those are expensive, not available to everyone, and time-consuming. Under the OCR process, there are very few instances in which money damages are available. If there were an ability to get money damages, it would presumably provide a nice incentive effect. I think that that would be a useful addition to the process.
Is it your recommendation that we ought to think about statutory changes to make the enforcement mechanism stronger and more robust?
Yes, sir. The process it's slow, it's weak, and I think it would be useful to consider strengthening it, not just for Jewish students, but for all.
Thank you. I yield back.